my gosh. This is crazy.
And look, no more nub.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
It looks really good.
Right?
Yeah, it looks great.
They're going to be even better.
Eee!
And then I'll be perfect. Hey guys, I am Rhea Carmona.
And I'm Gabby Sibaha, and this is So True Bestie, the first ever podcast started by two best friends, which is insane.
It's insane that we're the first
in
2023.
We're definitely the first.
Absolutely. So today's topic, actually, you know what? Let's make everybody wait a little.
That was a tease.
Let's just do the ins and outs, and then we'll jump into it.
Okay.
Do you have yours?
Oh, boy, do I.
Let's do yours first, because I'm going to be honest, I'm thinking of mine on the fly today.
Okay, I'm excited to see what you have.
Okay,
so I have 2 ins and 1 out.
Amazing.
My first in is the sun. The sun cures me like no other, dude.
Okay.
I could go outside, honestly, transparently, right now I'm having a depressive episode, and I could go outside and my worries disappear.
Yeah.
The sun, I don't know what they put in it, but
It really, I do know what they put in it. It's vitamin D.
that's so true.
Yeah.
That is.
You're right though, because
Yeah.
I am definitely more depressed. You know, I think everybody kind of has a little bit of seasonal depression,
Yeah.
but when it is cloudy, I am not having it. I could never live in the Pacific Northwest.
Absolutely.
And the days that I, for whatever reason, I'm busy, I'm sad, whatever, don't get outside, I am in a worse mood. And every time, as Kellen's like, you just have to go for a walk.
Honestly, if I were you, especially since you own a home, I would just lay out in the pool and be like, I just need vitamin D for the first 20 minutes of my day.
Yeah, I know. I need to be better at that. So that's an incredible in.
Yes.
What's your next one?
Okay, my second in is changing your opinion about something. I'm very pro changing your opinion about something if you've found out new information about it, and also if you're just growing as a person.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes people look down on that because they're like, well, you said you didn't like this, so why do you all of a sudden like this? I feel like I'm entering a phase where I'm like, yeah, I have some new opinions. I have some new likes and dislikes, you know?
I love that.
That's me.
Do you feel like you've ever had something that you had a strong opinion on and then you went the complete opposite way?
Oh, yeah. For a long time, I was very stubborn in my opinions, and I didn't leave room for other people's opinions to seep in. And I don't think that that's a really good trait. So I'm trying to change it.
I love that for you.
And then my out is high school reunions. Those have got to go.
What's the point?
It's just literally people, and no offense if you're in a small town, to literally jerk each other off for being senior co-CFO at the local Wells Fargo.
Not the senior co-CFO.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Like, they're like, yeah, you know, me and Susie have 2 kids, and, you know, we live over on Webster Drive.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit.
You're right. The only people who enjoy high school reunions, well, there are 2 types of people who enjoy high school reunions. People who peaked in high school.
Yeah.
And I will say, there's a line in a Drake song where he essentially says, like, he wants to go to his high school reunion just because it would be such a debacle that they'd have to, like, have security for him.
Yeah.
Like, make them have to, like, implement security for the high school reunion. If I was Drake level famous, then I think I'd like high school reunions too.
Okay, yes, I agree, because I heard the story about Chris Evans, and he went to his high school reunion and he put, "Hi, my name's Chris," on his name tag.
That's incredible.
I know. I
to
agree.
go and act humble, even though in your head you know you're
Chris fucking Evans.
Shit on all these people who like made fun of you
Yeah.
in high school.
You flew out for this shit.
But if you're just a normal girl trying to make it in the world, trying to heal the trauma that high school caused you,
yes,
you're not flying back home for that shit.
that is me. You just read me like a book. You just read me like a book. Dude, I hated high school. I'm not going back.
But hear me out.
But I am hotter, so I could stunt.
Your 10-year reunion was last year.
Yeah.
Your 20-year, who knows where you'll be.
I agree.
I wasn't ready my 10-year. I wasn't there yet successfully.
Who is?
I want to be that. I didn't get 10-year was a little short for me. 20-year, who knows? Maybe I'll go. Maybe I'll take my private jet to Miami.
I agree, but I did make a mistake and left my high school reunion Facebook group, so I'm kind of fucked.
Yeah, you're gonna have to like enlist like a high school friend to give you the deets.
I agree. All right, what are yours?
Okay, so my first in, and it might be because I just ate one and you did too, drank one, is overpriced smoothies.
Yes. Yes.
Overpriced smoothies. I am actually very pro overpriced smoothies. I want to preface that by saying I know that is a privileged that is a privileged take. So I am accepting that. But listen, I made it out of the actual project, so
Yeah.
I get to love eating an $18 smoothie three times a week.
Yes, if you want to drink your Hailey Bieber smoothie, you should be allowed.
I've earned it. People are always shitting on $18 smoothies, $16 smoothies, but then they're spending, like, I have been charged $24 for, like, a rum and Coke where it wasn't even, like, top shelf.
Yep.
It's ridiculous, and we all just accept it.
Yep,
And
at least my smoothie has collagen, peptides.
Right. It's good for you.
Protein.
Fruit.
Yep.
Greens. That's actually so incredibly worth $15-20.
I would go as far as to say that if you haven't had an $18 smoothie, your mind would change after having an $18 smoothie.
I agree. After having the Hailey Bieber smoothie, you would never spend $20 on an alcoholic drink again, but I'm telling you, you'd go to Erewhon 3 times a week for it. It's so good.
I agree.
And it's so good for you. I feel good after I drink it.
I agree.
So, overpriced smoothies are my in.
I love that.
My out. So it's funny that you said that one of your ins was changing your opinion, because my out is needing to have an opinion about everything.
Yeah.
I hate that. I hate that. Sometimes I'm watching a video on TikTok that is so mindless. It is nothing. It means nothing. It doesn't even mean anything to the person who made it. And the amount of unwarranted opinions in the comment section.
Dude.
And to be honest, I sound like a boomer when I say this, but I feel like there's something about Gen Z and younger being online all the time that they feel like they need to give their opinion on everything. No one gives a shit about your stupid little opinion.
It is so annoying scrolling through the comments and seeing some fucking frog icon have the worst opinion ever about something that had nothing to do with the video.
What's the point?
Yeah.
You don't need to share your opinion about everything. It's unnecessary. Nobody cares. And I don't know. I also think I recently was in a conversation with someone, and there were a few of us and we were all talking, and one of the people who was talking about something asked that person, like, oh, what do you think about this? And you know what that person said? I don't know enough about that topic to have an opinion.
That's honestly hot.
It was so hot. And it was like, oh my God, that's what a mature thing to say. Because 9 out of 10 people that I know, to be honest, are going to lie. They're faking it.
Yeah.
They're going to pull an opinion out of their ass, or they're going to pretend that they know more about this topic than they do.
Was this person confident?
Yeah, super. Incredibly.
Okay.
That's a perfect way to describe it. Honestly, it's fucking hot. If I was dating a guy and somebody asked his opinion on something, and you could tell he was kind of like pulling shit out of his ass, or kind of like maybe pulling from like the title of a article he read, but he didn't actually read the whole article, versus a guy who just was like, to be honest, I don't really know. It's so much hotter to have the confidence to say that. It's also like the right moral thing to do, because then you see people all the time. I see this in comments, people being like, well, did you know that blah, 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 and then somebody will be like, that's wrong. Actually, that's not right. Like, people will pull things out of their ass and then they'll be dead wrong. And that shit can cause problems. Like, that's spreading misinformation.
Because,
I'm real boomer vibes
No,
today.
because you know why? Gen Z, no offense, does this thing where they just read the title, and that's obviously clickbait.
Yeah.
Obviously doesn't mean that the story has to go that way, and they just go with it. They don't even fucking read past the title because all their attention spans are that short.
Yeah. So anyways, my out is having an opinion.
Those are great. For coming up with them on the fly, those were really good.
Not bad, right?
Yeah.
With that being said, today's topic, I guess, well, it's all encompassing, but I would feel like the topic is beauty standards. That's a good way to describe it, right?
Yes. And because we live in Los Angeles, I feel like we see it in such a larger scale than I'm sure a lot of small towns see it.
Yeah. And we see how dangerous it can get.
Yes. And I just feel like we need to talk about it.
I agree. I think this was such an interesting topic for us to write, because obviously we outline the episodes, and I feel like this was such an interesting episode for us to outline because we have such different experiences with beauty standards, and we're both women, and we've both mostly been in heterosexual relationships, and so we're experiencing the same feelings, but we have different looks, and we have different body types, and we have different backgrounds and the way that we were raised, and we have different personalities. Like, I'm very kind of, when I want something, I need it immediately, versus like maybe technically wanted to like get Botox here and there, but like you're like, I'll sit on it for a few years.
Yeah.
I can't sit on it for a few days. Once I decided I want something, I'm doing it. And that's been a problem for me because then I sometimes feel like I've done things and then regretted it, or you know what I mean? It hasn't really like helped the real problem inside of me. And it's like,
okay, so let's talk about like I guess our experience when it comes to beauty standards and what we've done, and also like how we feel in general about it.
yeah, it's so funny because I feel like there are so many examples of a podcast like this where the first thing we would do is like talk about the things that we've had done.
Yeah.
And you've had nothing done. You get to say that.
I know, but I mean, we'll get to me in a second.
That's pretty sick though.
Is it?
I think so, to be
Okay.
honest. It's not obviously it's not that you haven't thought about it.
Right,
or
right.
that you don't have insecurities.
Yeah.
But you've most of your, adult life have had access to $200-$300 to blow.
Yes.
And you still haven't done it. That's big.
Yeah.
It's respectable, to be honest.
I will say a lot of that is fear though.
Yeah.
I will say.
That's fair.
I'm
I'm not if something is going to make me prettier,
Yeah.
inject that shit in my face.
Yeah.
So it's so funny because before we started this episode, Gabby came over and she was excited because I actually got veneers this week.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were kind of talking about them and all that stuff. And she's like, what do you think? And I was like, well, I still don't really, love them. And with that being said, they're my temporary. So for those of you that don't know how veneers work is they kind of do all the grueling work. They do the little gum lift and they shave your teeth a little bit. And then you have to wear temporaries for 2 weeks while your mouth heals. And then they put the permanent veneers in. And your temporaries don't look exactly how the permanent ones look. And so I'm wearing my temporaries. They are nice.
I will say they blend very well with your other teeth. Like
They do.
You obviously have other real teeth, and like it I'm looking at them right now and the color is really nice actually.
Honestly, the color I think actually works.
Yeah.
Like it matches the rest
I
of my
agree.
teeth. But that is something I would say I didn't need to do, right?
But I will say you have felt insecure about your smile
I have.
for as long as I've known you.
But I think not the problem, because I did it.
Yeah.
But I think what can be perceived as a problem is, yes, I was insecure about my teeth. That's a true statement. I always have been. Did I need to be? Because I also didn't really have problems. Like they were relatively straight. They were relatively white.
Yeah.
They like didn't
They were good
give me
teeth.
they were good teeth.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was still very insecure about them to the point where I spent it was a lot of money. It was 5 figures. Like I'll just put it out there. It was 5 figures. That's a lot of fucking money. And I am so, so, so grateful that I have the money to be able to do that. But there is also like a double-edged sword to having disposable income.
Yeah.
To be able to just wake up on a whim and decide you want to spend 5 figures to make yourself feel prettier.
So this is a question for you. Obviously, we both grew up with, less than middle class income. And I want to know if now you feel like because you have access to this money, is it easier for you to make those decisions where if you see something wrong, you essentially get it quote unquote fixed?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm trying to reel that in. But it was like the first thing that I bought when I started making the amount of money I make is a new nose.
Yeah.
I got a nose job. I've always wanted a nose job. I got a nose job. And there's definitely, I think, for me, it was never a self-control thing. Like I was never like, I'm not going to get a nose job because I don't need it. It was like, I'm not going to get a nose job because I don't have the money. And the second I did, I got it. And I'm actively trying to work on that. I have pretty bad facial dysmorphia. I haven't really talked about this on anywhere, but I struggle with really, really, really bad facial dysmorphia in a similar way that people struggle with body dysmorphia and maybe see something in the mirror that isn't necessarily true. That is me with my face. Like,
how long have you had that?
To be honest, I take this with a grain of salt. I hate when people kind of like shit on LA. I think LA has its problems, but I think it's like any other big city. There's goods and bads, and it's mostly who you hang out with. With that being said, like you said in the beginning of this episode, we just see these beauty standards on this heightened level.
It's very magnified with
and
us.
To me, it was when I moved to LA. I didn't actually really think about my looks that often before I moved to LA. Like,
wait, I didn't even know this.
Yeah, I was like a woman, I might have had this and that, but I've never once before I moved to LA thought that I had anything wrong with my nose.
Was it the comparison to seeing other noses, or were you just like, okay, this is like the standard here?
I think it's less comparison for me. I do compare once in a while, but for me, I think I have an idea of perfection in my head. And oftentimes I think I feel like I need to become that idea of perfection in a way that somebody might be like, this is what's considered by like Western beauty standards, pop culturally perfect nose. It's not my nose, but I can see why people like it. I'm like, okay, so I need to have that.
Okay, so good follow-up question here. Can perfection be achieved?
No, because I still don't like my nose.
Got it. Oh, after the nose job.
Yeah. Well, because I think the biggest thing I realized after my nose job was the problem wasn't really my nose. And that's not to say I have a botched nose. I actually love my nose.
You get so many compliments.
I like it better than my old nose. I think it was money well spent. But I still have days where I don't like it. My facial dysmorphia didn't go away. My facial dysmorphia, if I'm having a bad day, if I'm stressed, guess what? It still looks triple the size in the mirror. Like, it doesn't fix insecurity.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And we see it all the time with celebrities. Like, you see celebrities who look completely different than they did 10 years ago, and that should be enough. But guess what? They keep getting work done. They keep getting work done because once you start, it's such, and that's why I think I say I love that you haven't. Not because, you know, I think it's bad. Obviously, I do it, but because I know how much of a slippery slope it is to be like, oh, I walked into an office. I walked out an hour later with a little bit less money in my bank account, and I look a little more perfect. That is so addicting. It is so addicting.
So coming from somebody who hasn't had that done, to me, I'm like, are you fixing the superficial issue? So because it's easier to throw money at it as opposed to fixing the like internal issue.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know. I also empathize with the idea of like, if I got the chance to like safely suck out 30 pounds from me, I would do that.
Yeah, if it wasn't like a full-on surgery and you could be like in and out in an hour.
Yes, but then I think about like, oh shit, that's like a crazy difference that I would have if later today by 9 p.m. I had a whole different body. Like your mind hasn't caught up to what has happened physically.
And that was a huge thing too. I think a lot of people, this could be its own episode, but like a lot of people don't realize how hard getting plastic surgery is.
Yeah.
How hard it is to see yourself as somebody different, even if you're technically better, whatever that fucking means. It's so hard to look in a mirror and see a different person, and it takes a really long time. And I think one of the biggest kind of like conclusions I came to after my nose job was when you get a nose job, people have this perception that you get the cast off and your nose looks perfect. In reality, it takes about 2 years. 2 years.
And you see shows like, I don't know, just plastic surgery shows, and they take the cast off.
It's fake.
Oh.
They literally go back a year later and they take the cast off.
Wow.
When they first take the cast off, you look like a monster.
That's really unhealthy to set that precedent.
It is. And well, I think that was for me was I was swollen for a really long time. I was swollen for about a year before I even started to like my nose. It was huge. It was double the size of my old nose.
Because it was healing.
Because it was healing. But it also made me realize how tied my happiness is to my looks. Because I knew eventually it was going to go down. I knew eventually I was going to like it. And to be honest, it was really swollen to me. Most people didn't really notice it. You weren't, you were like, yeah, I can see that it's swollen, but you don't look like weird. Like nobody would like point it out.
Yeah.
I didn't go out for months. I was depressed. I literally spiraled into one of the worst depressions of my life. I had to start seeing a new therapist and start like doing new types of like cognitive therapy because it was this huge thing in my brain where I was like, I literally can't be happy unless I feel pretty. Even though I knew it was temporary, even though I knew it was just healing, I was like, holy shit, my entire life is tied to how I look. Yeah. I have a better day on the days I feel pretty.
Do you feel pretty now after you've gotten like the work that you have?
Depends on the day.
Really?
Some days I feel just as ugly, if not uglier.
Because you've had access to this thing, and like, I guess in a way you're like, I can always get prettier.
Right. That's it too. It's like, I'm like, yeah, technically my nose is better, but like I still have a, neutral canthal tilt and prey eyes, and my chin could be a little stronger, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you will never stop finding things to fix.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to work on that because at this point I don't want to do anything else. I really don't. I don't want to. I will definitely not do another surgery. Surgery's scary and tough, and imagine like dying and it was because you like didn't like your nose. Like I thought about that. And one of the funniest things, I feel like any woman who's had any sort of like plastic surgery or even just like filler or Botox can attest to this. There's a moment when you're like sitting in the office and you're getting injected and it hurts like a motherfucker, or you're sitting on the operating table and you're about to like get put under, where you think like, what am I doing? It happens to me every time. So I know I'm not alone. I know there are other women who feel this way, where I think, what am I doing? Like, why am I going through this pain? Why am I going through something that could potentially be really dangerous? Like, what the fuck? There's always a moment of clarity.
But
for
I
me.
wish that people were more honest about that. Obviously you are, because like we talk all the time, but like I wish that people were more honest about that, because take for example my experience.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm uglier because I haven't had stuff done. I think about like, oh, you know, I could benefit from a little judge here, a little judge there. And I think that started honestly maybe 2 years ago for me, very like much later in life.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's hard because you see the type of people that people think are attractive, and as a woman, well, especially here, you can tell when somebody's had work done.
Most of the time.
Most
Sometimes
of the
you
time.
can't, and that's also dangerous.
Yes, most of the time. And for me, I'm like, well, I'm never gonna achieve like somebody being like, this girl's really pretty, because I don't have that work done. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's hard to think about your own natural quote unquote beauty when that's not what people like.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard thing for somebody who hasn't had work done to be like, well, should I get some work done?
Right. Do I just succumb?
Yeah.
Or do I stick to my guns and feel maybe a little less than?
Yeah.
Which is so sad that we have to like, that's the decision.
Yeah.
Is we either have to like compare for the rest of our lives and like consistently tell ourselves like, they just have work done, they just have work done, they just have work done. It's okay, I'm natural, but I'm not going to look like that.
Yeah.
Or succumb.
Yeah.
And do it and have less money and be in pain.
That's such the female experience, huh?
It is. It really, really, really is. And
That makes me sad.
I have a question for you. What percentage is fear and what percentage is just like having a healthy relationship with yourself in terms of like you not getting anything done?
So I will say, I feel like I am very confident in the way that I look.
Yeah.
Like I really like my face.
Yeah.
I obviously see things that I would like to fix, but those for me are passing thoughts because I haven't had that, like, I guess, first
Right.
experience. But I also know myself, and I have a very addictive personality.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it would be healthy for me to go down that road personally.
So you think if you started, there's a chance it would get out of hand?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair. And that's really, really self-aware too.
Yeah.
Because I could have probably told you the same with me, and I still did. I still did.
Yeah.
I still started.
But you're lucky in a sense that you have people in your life like me and Kellen who are like, hey, like, you know, you're beautiful.
Completely. Yeah.
I'm sure people sometimes have people in their lives that are very yes men and are like, yeah, you could use a little bit more of this, a little bit more of this. And then these young women look so entirely different than what they looked like a year ago.
Yeah. I've actually noticed that too. There are people who I've seen get work done, and maybe technically, yes, those flaws are gone, but it does age you. It absolutely does age you.
It does.
And I think that there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. Everything in moderation. It's the same with junk food. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like to subscribe to the fear mongering of not being able to like eat a piece of candy at the movie theater. Should I eat it every day? No. If you want to get a little preventative Botox in your forehead, that's fine.
I agree.
But getting filler every 3 months until, you know, your face is like, it's becoming like a medical problem, and you might even actually have to like have consequences or a surgery. Yeah, it can get out of control so fast.
Yes, and that's not to say that like I'm sitting here being like, oh, like I haven't had any work done. I'm saying up until this moment in 2023, I haven't. And I do think I'll get Botox in the future. We've talked about my TMJ and like, I have a very expressive face. I'm sure I'll get Botox, but like you said, in moderation, I feel like, but then again, I feel like that's hard to actually put into practice.
Yeah.
Once
you've started,
we can
it's
sit
really
here
hard.
and say that, but like, is that true? I don't think so.
Well, I think to your point, a big part of that is a good support system.
Yeah.
Because as much as I will say, like, listen, I got a nose job and veneers. Those are two big things. They're two really big things, two very expensive things. But I don't think I'm going to get any other surgeries. And I do get Botox and I do get filler, but I don't actually get that much. And I have overdone it and I've reeled it back. So I think if you are actively working on your mental health and you have a good support system, you can do it in moderation.
Right.
I have overfilled my face before. When I first moved to LA, this is a canon event. You move to LA and you learn about lip filler, and it rocks your fucking world. Somebody comes and says to you, for $500, you don't have to overline your lips anymore. You can just look like that, and it rocks your world.
Yeah.
And you plump the shit out of your lips, and you look ridiculous. It's a canon event. It is an LA girl canon event. I did that.
That's the welcome party when you
That's
move
the
to
welcome
Los
party.
Angeles.
Is you get your first dose of Juvederm.
Yeah.
Welcome. Here's the keys to your shitty apartment, and here's a vial of Juvederm. And that was, now 8-9 years ago. I don't get lip filler anymore. And partially it's because I had a good support system. You know what I mean? I had people who I got it done, and maybe you were like, yeah, if you're happy, but you weren't like, oh my God, you look so much better. You needed that. You know what I mean? It was always like, I was always reminded that like, hey, if you want to do this, you can, but like, just so you know, you don't need that. And also, I'm going to be realistic here. If you are going to get that stuff done, going to somebody you trust. Because I used to go to places.
You get what you pay for.
Exactly. I used to go to places that would just do whatever I wanted. If I went in there and I said, you look at my mouth, I have a pretty big lips. If I went in there and I was like, I want 10 cc's of Juvederm, they'd just do it. They don't care. They just want to make their money. Now I go to a person who I go in once in a while. Maybe I'm having a bad body dysmorphia day and I want something, and she'll be like, no. That is a good injector.
Yeah.
Somebody who will say no to you. And I started going to somebody that was like, why are you getting lip injections? You look like a duck. You already have big lips. You look crazy. Why are you doing that? And in fact, she dissolved it. She was like, we're dissolving that. She was like, you don't need that.
Good.
And she was like, it's expensive. You don't need it. I still get a little Botox lip flip. She was like, that's all you need. I think when I smile, my smile used to be a little more like that, and now it doesn't. I used to kind of go in a little. So she was like, listen, her job at the end of the day is still aesthetics, but she wasn't a yes man. And she was like, you're doing too much. Here's how we do it in moderation.
Well, that's a good doctor, because at the end of the day, your face is a review for her.
Exactly.
So it's good to like.
And I look better without lip filler. I do.
Yeah.
I looked a little ducky when I had it. That's fine. I never went too crazy, but I looked a little ducky.
I think it's hard for me to see certain things because I spend a lot of time with you. Like, you know how it's hard to like, I don't know. If I saw somebody I haven't seen in a year, I'm like, you look different, but it's harder when you're like day to day.
And I also think there is an element of love goggles. Like I can look at my face and I can point out every minute thing that I think could use a problem. And you've come to me before on days when you're feeling insecure and you'll be like, hey, you've gotten stuff done. Like, what would you do to me? And I never really give you a big answer. And it's not because I'm like sparing your feelings. It's because I just don't see flaws the same way. It is. There's a love goggles aspect to it. I don't even ask Kellen's opinion anymore on what I look like because he loves me too much.
Yeah.
He thinks I'm beautiful all the time.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. I'm not. And that's not even just me being like insecure. I'm not pretty all the time. Sometimes I'm very ugly, and that's fine.
That's fine.
But when you get to that level of love with someone, it's like, I don't even trust your opinion anymore.
I agree. I think for me also, I have an issue with, I guess, Western beauty standards, and also people here co-opting the ethnic beauty standard.
Yes.
And I think that it gets so messy in my head because I'm like, okay, so you want your nose, but you want my hips, but you want my lips, but like you want, or almond eye. It's like, it's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. I feel like for the longest time in high school, I don't know if you know this, but I used to get bullied for my big hips. I used to like,
that's crazy.
There were people like making Facebook groups calling me fucking big hip, like thunder thigh girl. And now you see the Kardashians
getting BBLs.
Yes. And suddenly curves are beautiful. And that is so tough for a girl like me because I'm like, well, then wasn't it always beautiful? Wasn't it like just a case of, I don't know, just judgment?
And I can't even imagine what that does to your mental health.
Yes.
And in high school, you probably hated them. And now it's like, oh, everything's changed. You have to love them. Like, what a 180? What are you supposed to, how are you supposed to just adapt?
I also feel like, so I feel like I have like a very ethnic nose too. I don't super dislike my nose. I hate how it looks when I smile and it like goes down, but I feel like I'm always Facetuning the nose.
Yeah.
I'm always like trying to fix it up a little. Sometimes I go on Facetune and I'll make my nose small and cute how I think it would look, and I'm like, but this isn't me.
Right. And also, you know, it's your father's nose. It's your brother's nose. It's your sister's nose. You guys all have the same face. It was just adorable to me. I love that. You look so fucking Costa Rican.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like, again, I don't have a pot to piss in. I'm a Hispanic who has gotten a nose job to have a more Western nose, but it would kill me because then you wouldn't look like Joaquin and Rocio anymore.
I know.
And there is an aspect of that makes me really sad. And that is why I will say I went very subtle with my nose job. There are people
I agree.
who knew me pre and would never know if I didn't say. It's that subtle.
I'm gonna be honest, your eyebrow difference was more of a shock factor than your nose.
I've done beauty techniques that have made me look more different than my nose job. But there is an aspect that made me sad that I was going to, you know, I had these bigger nostrils, which is kind of a Cuban thing. Like every Cuban I know in Miami has bigger nostrils, and everybody in my family has them. I call them the Carmona nostrils.
Cute.
And it's, yes, do I like the way I look in selfies more now? Yes. There's an aspect of it that makes me feel sad that I look a little less Cuban. I look a little less Hispanic. And like you said, that's so hard when certain aspects of our culture are being co-opted by white women.
Cherry picked.
It's cherry picked. It's like, well, your nose can't look ethnic, but your ass can. Your eyebrows can look ethnic, you know, but your tits can't.
Yeah.
Your lips can look ethnic, but your hair can't.
It's very tough because you're like, well, first off, who are you to decide?
Yeah.
And secondly, I just feel like, I don't know, it just sets this like precedent in, even like I have a younger sister. She just turned 21 and she's like, I hate my nose. And I'm like, why do you hate your nose? And we have the same nose. And she's like, I don't know, it just doesn't look like X, Y, Z and like whatever. And I'm like, dude, that sucks because I would hate for my sister to get a nose job.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, I don't know. It's so tough. You scroll the Explorer page on Instagram.
I can't blame her. I've been there. It's so hard when everybody looks a certain way now. And it's just, to be honest, even like we're talking about, you know, looking ethnic versus not. It's even with non-invasive things, like even with just like stylistically, there are things that I did in middle school because I grew up in Miami and I grew up in a poor neighborhood, and you know, I was a little chonga. I was. And, you know, I did the Brazilian pants and I did the little, you know, I was putting my baby hairs down and I had a big ass fucking nameplate. And then I got to high school, which was the early 2000s, and the Western Caucasian look was very in, right?
Yeah.
It was like the gossip girl look. And nobody was doing that. Everybody was straightening their hair and they were wearing Hollister. And I was called a chonga, and people would sing Chongalicious, the MySpace song. And so I stopped doing that stuff. And then now it's back. Like now every like white woman I know is slicking back her hair in a bun. I'm not saying white women can't slick their hair back in a bun. That's not what I'm saying. But it's just jarring.
Yeah.
It's jarring.
I agree.
It's like trends change so fast. And also trends are so now kind of co-opted from different cultures. I'm like, oh, so I was supposed to hate this about myself 10 years ago, and now I'm supposed to love it.
And the problem with that is that, like, not to be this girl, but like culture's not a trend.
Right.
And sometimes it diminishes the culture because you're like, okay, well, you like this for right now. Like, okay, what's next? And people are no longer going to think that's cool, but it's still you.
Right.
Because that's always been you.
And then it's like, oh, am I supposed to hate this about myself again?
Yes.
Like, I can't live like this.
I grew up in a very white town. Like,
yeah, like you even talking about having like big hips being a problem, like you would have run shit in my high school in Miami. You would have run my high school with that ass.
I just pictured myself.
You would have run
Hips
it.
swaying in the hallway.
You would have been the Costa Rican Regina George of my high school.
Shut the fuck.
Straight up. It's crazy how even trends can differ.
Yeah.
Beauty standards can differ.
Yeah.
We're a 4-hour plane ride away from each other.
Yeah.
And the experience you would have had in my high school compared to what you had is,
That is
so different.
That is so crazy.
It's crazy, dude.
Verona, Wisconsin, man.
Fuck Verona. No, I'm just kidding.
Verona. No, but it was very different. I had the same same experience as you. Like I had people only had Hollister shirts on, you know, the jeans with the bejeweled back, and no baby hairs. And I feel like, you know, even now I look Hispanic, and I'm just wearing hoop earrings and a slick back bun. But I hate when people tell me, "Oh, you look extra Hispanic today," because I'm like, or maybe I just look like me. Yeah. Maybe I'm just like wearing a red lip. And
that's I would go as far as saying that's a microaggression.
Oh, boy, is it.
Yeah. And that's also, our experience is valid, but we're also experiencing it on a level that's not even, like, I can't even imagine what a black woman feels like right now.
Oh, I agree. I'm fully aware that I'm like a more Americanized Hispanic, even if I'm an immigrant.
Even a Hispanic in general, dude. It is not, I can't imagine what black women went through in like middle school being made fun of for things, and now women are literally modifying their body and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to take those things and turn them into trends.
And saying it looks better on a white body.
Yes. Dude, it makes me feel terrible. It makes me want to actually cry. It genuinely makes me want to fucking cry.
But so who decides these things?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't really know how it works. I feel like I would throw it out there that maybe it starts at like the way that like a lot of times like fashion trends start on the runway, right? And then we kind of take like easy versions of that and turn it into trends, and then we all wear it. Like, I don't know. Does that start like, you know, at the highest end of like fashion? Is that like where trends start? I don't know. Also, it's a lot of just people who are culturally relevant and what they like. Like the Kardashians are arguably some of the most influential women in the world in terms of beauty standards. They all took their BBLs out. All of a sudden, that's not in anymore. Being skinny is back.
I fucking know it. And as somebody so I'm obviously curvaceous.
We love it.
But sometimes we don't.
That's okay too.
I hate that they took their BBLs out because I'm like, God, fucking low-rise jeans are back, huh? But like, I don't want to walk around Silver Lake with low-rise jeans.
It's true. We can't wear the same things. I can wear things.
Oh, me and you? Yeah, we can.
I can wear something that I look cute and fashionable in that you would get probably called a slut for.
Yes.
That's just the reality of it.
We've had that conversation so many times.
Yeah, that's the reality of it. In the same way that like I can't wear something like a tall girl would wear, which is not even near as hard as it is with like weight. But like, there are absolutely things that somebody can't wear if they have giant boobs versus small, or if they're curvy versus small. Or there's this whole trend on TikTok around like, is she fashionable or is she skinny, tall, and white?
Yes.
And I have to ask myself that too. When I'm looking at a girl and I'm like, I really like her style, I'm like, do I, or is she just a model and so everything looks good on her?
I agree. It's very hard for especially like a body type like mine to go on Pinterest or go on TikTok and to find things and me not look like a baby prostitute or like or like, I don't know, like I borrowed your clothes in my body. Yeah. It's so tough. Everything's so targeted towards like the tall, skinny model. Yeah. So I feel like you and I very much have a similar social media experience, but very different. Like you're on TikTok, I'm not. Yeah. I post once a month. Like you very much are like an aesthetic person.
I'm chronically online. It's okay, you can say it.
And I do want to be more of that, but I also get scared. I also am like very much fearful of like, oh, I don't look like the people that usually post. Even to me, I'm sure there's people listening to us being like, fuck you. Yes, you do. Yeah. But I don't feel that way. And I'm like, I'm not up to that standard because of what I see on my Explore page, what I see on Pinterest.
Do you feel like that's why you don't post that often?
I feel like that's why I don't try.
Wow. I didn't even really know that. I just thought you didn't give a shit.
Part of me doesn't give a shit, but part of me does want to give a shit. And I'm like, I am this creative, cool girl in my head, but like, I don't know. I feel like maybe I would get less props because I don't fit a certain mold, even if I think I'm cool. Right. I'm not what the public thinks is cool. Right. And a lot of like being on social media is liking that attention. And I'm not afraid to admit that I love attention. And sometimes I'm like, I can't really compete.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, that's I think the hardest thing about social media is like that validation. Yeah, and validation. Being like, okay, I am only as pretty as the amount of likes that this post is going to get.
Dude, yes.
I am only as pretty as the amount of virality I received from this TikTok. There's like a running thing about like, I'm pretty, but I'm not going viral for a singing video TikTok. You know what I mean?
But even I have had that.
Yeah.
My only TikTok that I've actually done, I have had that. For some reason in my head, I'm like, still not enough.
Why?
I don't know.
It's crazy.
Maybe because I don't like, I don't know, look the way that I think beauty is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But also you could break a standard.
You're right. And I oughta, huh?
You oughta. I'm not kidding.
Don't say what I just said back.
You oughta. I'm serious though. It's like it takes.
Yeah.
I just saw this great discourse on Tube Girl, right?
Yes.
And
Love her.
people are kind of like, nobody doesn't like her, but there are people kind of being like, why does this person get this big platform? Like they're not doing anything of value. And also like, why is it that when they act unhinged on the tube, like, is this pretty privilege versus like somebody else? Which is maybe fair, but it's interesting that it's interesting that women have been making videos like this on TikTok for years. And the first, maybe not the first, but somebody is going extra viral for it who happens to be a woman of color.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, there's room for discourse.
I know. Where was this when Alex Earl popped out?
Exactly.
Where was it?
Exactly. So
See,
there's a level.
Yes. That's you kind of, as always, you take the words out of my mouth. Like, I feel like because I'm not a white American girl, I wouldn't get that same amount of love.
Or if you did, there'd be more backlash for it.
I agree. And
you're open to more
criticism.
Yeah. When you don't fit that westernized beauty standard. That's true. It's true.
It makes me sad because I do want to post more. Should I post more?
You should. And I'm telling you this all the time. And again, like, I understand also that I'm telling you that from a place of privilege, right? Like, I'm thin. I look more American. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm more whitewashed. So there is an aspect of like, I can't relate to how you feel not being a size 0. You know what I mean? But I also know you, and it does feel in some ways like a disservice to yourself to not be putting yourself out there more, because fuck the haters.
You're right. At the end of it, see, those are my two demons. At the
haters?
The hater. The haters on one side of my shoulder.
Westernized beauty standards.
Yeah. Yes, literally. Okay, you know what? I'm saying here first, I'm going to start posting more.
Thank God. You should post twice a month. That's not that bad to start.
Okay.
You can post twice a month.
Okay, you know what? I'm not even going to say no. You're right.
Well, bulk content.
Yeah.
I also think it's hard too because for me at least, I often compare myself to Facetune photos.
Dude, wasn't I just doing that the other day?
Yeah.
Where I was like, my hair looked thicker when I was 22. And then you go, yeah, that was when we were Facetuning our hair to be more.
Well, that's another canon event. It is a canon event. When you start posting more online, you discover Facetune.
I looked like a child in a beauty pageant in those photos that I showed you.
I have some archived Instagram photos that are.
When we would like over smooth. There was not a texture on my skin.
I was fox-eyeing my eyes so high. It was shocking. It doesn't look like me. But it's dangerous. And it honestly, it's like, it makes me giggle, but it also makes me sad when I see a girl who like maybe recently moved to LA. Or
I know, you can tell.
You can tell when they've entered their Facetune era. You can tell. Well, it starts with Facetuning in person. You start with the overlining.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It starts with those little things. And then, you download Facetune, you pop around, you see what's going on. And then all of a sudden, you don't have a fucking blemish on your face. You're smooth to the gods.
Your teeth are so white. The eyes are so white.
Your teeth are Pantone 00001. There's no, that's it. Yeah, they whiten their eyes like a crazy person.
It's like a matte detail.
It's the bold glamour filter.
Yeah.
You become the bold glamour filter. And again, I can't interfere. It's a canon event. In a year, they'll look back and be like, my God. But there are millions, thousands, probably millions of women who are good at Facetune.
Yeah.
Who you can't really tell. There are celebrities, we know this firsthand. There are celebrities who literally hire people to be their Facetuners. And yet I find myself comparing.
Yeah.
And being like, I'll take a selfie and my skin has texture. And I'm like, what the fuck is that?
You know what's crazy? Even the Kardashians have been caught Facetuning badly. Like, I've seen Kylie and Khloe get caught. And I'm like, these women are the ones that are setting the beauty standard. And even they Facetune.
Yep.
we're never gonna win.
It's because the beauty standard doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
Nobody actually looks like that.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because I genuinely, actually, the women that I'm like the most like attracted to, whether it's like actually, you know, sexually attracted, or even just like, oh my God, she's so beautiful, like I need to give her a compliment, or I'm like catch myself staring. You know, when you see a woman, she's just so pretty, they never look like that.
I know.
They never look like the idealized beauty standard that I hold myself to.
That's
they
what I
always
wanna
have
be.
quirks, and you know, they don't have perfect noses, or they're not the smallest size ever. The women that have learned that like it's a confidence thing versus a physical thing are the women that I'm the ones that are the most drawn to, and that's what I want. That's like what I'm looking for. Like,
Yeah.
I covet that more than I even covet like a small nose or the perfect boobs or whatever. Is like the women that you meet and they're so beautiful, but it's because of their personality, because they're confident, and so you don't even notice,
Yeah.
you know, quote unquote flaws.
See, that's my goal in life. I feel like I definitely am a personality first kind of person. I also feel like, I will say, some people photograph better than others. I
Yeah.
don't think I photograph well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know my angles yet. I would say that I'm confident, but not to the level like these people are posting every day.
Well, it's also hard, I think, sometimes to perceive yourself so much. Like when we first did the photo shoot for this podcast, we did like a promo shoot, which is very normal. And, you know, the photographer shot a lot. We shot all day. So we got like 250 photos back. And I remember you were like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why do I look like that? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, these are they weren't like, you know, maybe some of the angles weren't that good. But we ended up coming to this conclusion that you were like, I've just maybe never, I don't think I've seen 250 photos.
Yeah.
It's jarring. We're
It
not
is.
supposed to be looking at ourselves as often as we do,
Yeah.
whether it's on Instagram, on TikTok, on our front facing phone, in mirrors. We're just, as humans, not supposed to be perceiving ourselves this much. And it's jarring, and you almost start to like forget what you look like. And
that happened to me.
and that's what I was going to say was, I remember at one point you turned to me and you were like, that's why you're mentally ill. Like, because I've been doing shoots and stuff, and I've been online, and I've been making YouTube videos for 10 years. I've been doing what you did in that moment for 10 years.
Yeah.
And you're like, no wonder.
I think I had a sense of like, I mean, I always empathize with you, but I think I had a sense of like, oh, like this isn't even a you thing. This is like a societal thing where you're
Completely.
like, I'm constantly having access to what I look like. And sometimes it's not the best picture of me.
Well,
so
because
then
you eventually
spiral.
lose, you don't, like, I genuinely feel like I don't know what I look like.
Really?
Oh, I have no idea what I look like. I've lost all perception. I do not know what I look like.
Wait, that makes me like actually sad.
I really don't. I can tell you what my flaws are.
Do you think you're pretty?
No,
Be for real.
I don't. I think I am an ugly person who can sometimes play dress up as a pretty person.
See, I think I'm a pretty person that can sometimes play cosplay as a prettier person.
That's incredible.
Yeah, but
In 2020, that's the most you can ask for.
okay, yes, you're right. But that bums me out because you're literally so fucking pretty, and I feel like you hear it often.
Yeah, I
but
don't believe
it goes in when you're at the other, or you think that people are just like, we gotta throw her a bone.
No, literally. Sometimes when somebody calls me pretty in my head, I'm not exaggerating. Even somebody I like, I'll be like, stop fucking, shut the fuck up, stop patronizing me.
You're like, who
Don't
paid you?
Don't patronize me,
Who
dude.
paid you?
I don't need to hear it. Like, shut the fuck up, dude.
What do you think would make you feel prettier? Like if you had that option, if someone was like, we can fix anything. What do you think would?
No, more therapy.
Good.
I have
Good.
learned now that I've actually like had shit done on a real level, it's not gonna be that.
Yeah.
I'm in therapy. I'm working on it, but it's not a looks thing anymore. I know I am at the healing stage in my life that I officially know that it's not a looks problem,
I love that.
which is it's a good step.
yeah.
But I absolutely do not believe that I'm a pretty person. I believe that I am a maybe not ugly is a strong word. I believe that
It
I am an
is.
average looking person who can sometimes look pretty with the right makeup and lighting.
Okay, but I will say, isn't that like everybody?
Yeah, and maybe that's it.
You know?
Maybe my idea of like naturally beautiful, because a lot of times when I'm having a really hard emotional like day with my facial dysmorphia, I'll tell Kellen, I just want to be naturally beautiful. Like I'll be upset how I look, and he'll be like, it's a Sunday and we were out till 3 a.m. and we're watching movies on the couch, and I'll be like, but I just want to be a natural beauty, and he's always like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah, what
I
does
can't
that
answer it.
mean?
I can't answer it. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I think my mentally ill brain tells me that I should be able to look in the mirror at all times of the day, at any second, no matter what I'm going through, no matter what the lighting is, no matter what mirror it is, and feel pretty.
I'm sure if you sat down, okay, for example, we were just at a coffee shop. Remember that girl we saw? And we were like, she's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
I think if you sat down with her and you asked her if she felt that way every single day at every hour of it, every day, she'd be like, fuck no.
Yeah. And maybe she was even having an ugly day that day.
Yeah.
And we were gushing over her in the corner.
I don't know. We just got to be nicer to ourselves,
I know.
Dude.
Perception is really insane.
Yeah.
And self-perception. It's so warped.
I also think that this is me giving you your flowers. I think that you're very, also, I just learned what that meant this morning.
That's a good one. I love when people say that one. It's not used enough. It's a good one.
Did I say it right?
Perfect.
Okay. This is me giving you your flowers. I think that you're very good at like, not just dressing, but styling. Like you're very good at like,
I will say, yeah.
Judging things up.
Yeah.
And that's an art form in itself. And I think that makes somebody prettier too.
That's fair. I will say I love my style. I feel like I'm really good at dressing for my body type and my height.
Yes. And that's not easy.
It's not easy at 5 foot. It's so funny because I've actually never been even 1% insecure about myself from the neck down ever. I've never once even given my body a second thought.
Yeah.
And it's so funny that we have the opposite problem.
I was about to say.
You're fine from the neck up.
Yeah.
And all your issues are from the neck down.
Yeah.
And my problems are all from the neck up. And I've never thought about my body.
Dude, that is so true. Yeah. I think when it comes to body, it's more of a well-known thing. Like I think facial dysmorphia, I think people just haven't realized that they have facial dysmorphia yet.
I think there are a lot of people with undiagnosed facial dysmorphia.
And with body dysmorphia, I feel like I was just recently looking at a picture of myself, like, I don't know, maybe like 3 years ago. And I am going through like a lot of autoimmune stuff, like gained weight during COVID, a lot of stressful stuff. Yeah. So my body is reacting to that.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to give myself the grace of that and, working out and stuff. But the deeper thing is that I'm so fixated on how I looked 3 years ago that like you showed me this video where it was like you get so fixated on how you looked in the past that you're not even focused on what you look like in the future, and then future you is going to focus on what you look like present day. It's such a vicious cycle. And then one day you're old. Yes. One day I'll look down on my hands and they're wrinkly and I'm like, where the fuck did time go?
Yeah. Oh, I don't feel like I have a lot of regrets in life. One regret is I feel like I wasted a lot of my youth just being worried about how I looked and how I was being perceived and if I was fucking cool enough and if I was smart enough and if I was pretty enough.
But I will say that is such a 20s thing. Yeah. So like if you're listening to this and you feel that way, that's so normal. But I will say you should talk to people about that.
Yes. Well, I feel like, we've been best friends for so long and we have other great friends who are really good at communicating.
Yeah.
I feel like we have a lot of great girlfriends who are good at kind of talking about these things. But even then, I feel like it took us years to be able to be like, I fucking hate the way, for me to like tell, you didn't know I had facial dysmorphia. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, I didn't like, I see you every day. So like, yeah, I guess you've gained weight since I've first known you, but it's like, you don't clock those things. And then one day you were like, I'm really fucking unhappy with my weight right now. And I was like mind blown over that. You know what I mean?
I think it's so important. Like your problems don't just have to exist in your head and you can talk to your friends about it. And like a lot of the time they'll agree and they'll be like, I feel this way too. Yeah. Or like, I've gone through this too. And like, even having that community as you're going through whatever you're going through, facial dysmorphia, body dysmorphia, is so fucking nice.
It makes you feel less alone.
Yes. And we all feel that way. The Instagram models that you follow on social media or like me and you.
Yeah.
We feel that way all the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, hopefully our 30s are much kinder to us, but
we'll see.
We'll see.
What's your advice for somebody struggling with insecurity? Somebody who's maybe, on Instagram a lot, on TikTok, just a normal young girl on all the social medias and kind of feeling the effects of it.
I'm going to be honest. On social media, don't follow any Instagram models.
That you gave me that advice about 4 or 5 years ago is the best advice you've ever given me.
Yeah. I feel like I think that our brains, as you said, shouldn't have access to all this information, all these people, all these things that we can compare ourselves to. And I feel like you can work on yourself and also not compare. And I think that the number one thing you should do is unfollow people that make you feel insecure.
Yeah. It's like when you are going, I don't love like dieting, but you want to eat healthier. So you throw out.
Yes.
You throw out the Oreos.
You have to.
You have to throw out the Oreos.
In this stage of your life, you have to throw out the Oreos. Maybe later on, you can nibble on a little Oreo.
Yes.
Have 3. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Right now, you can't.
Yeah.
Cut out the fat.
That was, honestly, obviously, I still struggle with insecurity, but that changed the game for me. Was like, and not only did it change the game for me in terms of like perception or comparison. But it also, I think, was a huge light bulb the first time you said that to me, of being like, why do I follow them in the first place? And listen, there's nothing wrong with those women. We have friends who are Instagram models.
Of course not.
They're probably fully well-rounded people and great friends, and they have,
they're just beautiful
personalities. Yeah. But there are people who just who aren't putting that part of their lives on display. They are only putting their looks on display, and they have millions of followers. And it makes me sad, because I'm like, how many young girls are following those people because they believe that that's just the most important thing. This person is beautiful, so I need to follow them.
Yeah.
Because then maybe I will get a little bit of that beauty.
On the opposite end, I started following people that I found interesting and creative, and like a bunch of badass directors. Like, I follow Nadia Lee Cohen.
Yeah, incredible.
Beautiful, but also so talented.
Yeah.
You can have both.
She's aspirational.
Yes. And you can like find these people and still think that they're beautiful, but like their creativity outweighs their beauty.
Yeah.
I think we should follow more of those people.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's like, there are so many people on TikTok that I see. We've talked about this. It drives me fucking nuts, that have hundreds of thousands of followers. And I'm like, oh, this person's pretty, but like, damn, they have like, 300,000 followers. I want to see like why. And I'll scroll 20, 30 videos, and every single one is them just doing a voiceover.
Like a lip sync of a
lip
song.
sync.
Yeah.
A lip sync. Every single one. And there's nothing wrong with that type of content. But then I look at all of the people in the comments who are like, I love you. You're so beautiful. And it's like, they become worshipped. And it just makes me sad, because I used to be that person. I used to see somebody who was just beautiful. It didn't matter what else. They're beautiful. I'm following them. And it was so detrimental to my mental health and to my sense of self.
People are so much deeper than that. Like,
yeah.
And we're so much deeper than that.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't be something that we strive for. Like, I actually think, this is going to sound cheesy, but it's true. I think what people do and how they carry themselves and their personality makes a person beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to tell a story. I told Gabby knows the story. She even knows who it's about. I've told the story a million times, but it's very important. I was at a party once, 8-9 years ago. And there was a girl there who I'm actually now friends with. And it was a Halloween party, and I forgot what she was dressed up as, but her and her friends were dressed up as some sort of group costume where they were doing like a dance for everyone, right? And they were just being silly. But I remember thinking in my head, like, this one girl was so, like, I remember like I was obsessed. I was like, I don't know if I want to be her or be in her. I love her. She's so beautiful. And I was like looking at her in awe. And then I remember a couple weeks later, somebody was showing me something on that girl's Instagram. And they were like, oh, this is the girl that you thought was really pretty at the party. And I didn't recognize her. And I was like, no, it's not. And they were like, yes, it is. And it's not that she wasn't beautiful. It's not that she wasn't pretty. But her energy was so beautiful. And she was so kind and friendly with everyone and confident. She had this big, bright smile.
Dude, this is so sweet.
And it literally changed my perception of how she looked, to the point where when I saw her on Instagram, I didn't even fucking realize it was the same person. Because her personality made her more beautiful.
Oh my God, if somebody spoke about me this way, I would fucking cry.
I don't even know if she knows that story. I also feel like with someone like that, when you find a woman like that beautiful because of her personality, it feels like I don't know how to explain this. It's like it's for the women.
It's for the female gaze.
It's for the female gaze. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And, I love a man. You're married to a man. I'm not a misandrist most of the time. But I do think that a man might not have had that experience that I would have had with that person. Has a man ever been like, she's kind of pretty, but like her personality shines?
Not unless they're in love.
Yeah,
until they're in love. Yeah.
And that's its own situation, is this idea of appealing to the male gaze.
There have been so many times where I turn to my husband and I'm like, do you think she's pretty? And he's like, yeah, I love that she like is natural. This bitch has foundation on, concealer, her under eyes are so bright, a little bit of blush, mascara, soap brows. And I'm like, oh yeah, she's really extremely natural. You're so right. You know more than me.
Yeah.
You know more than me.
Well, that's the thing, is men want a natural beauty.
Yeah.
But they don't.
They want a yassified natural beauty.
They want natural beauty, bold glamour style. Yeah. It's like natural beauty is body hair.
Yeah.
Natural beauty is acne and weight fluctuations and fucking spinach in your teeth sometimes. You know what I mean? Like maybe we're going a little far, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
Natural beauty is who you are at your rawest self.
I will say also, before I forget, on the topic of body hair, I'm Hispanic and I have like, I'm a hairy gal.
Yeah.
And I feel like for so long, I would like shave my arm hair.
I did too.
And I don't know, something like 2 years ago, I think it was my little sister. She was like, I've been shaving it for 4 years. And I was like, oh, I don't want you to do that. So I just like started growing it out. And I'm like, why am I so ashamed of this hair that like I just have? And
it's also on your arm.
Also, nobody has grabbed my arm and been like, ew.
Never.
You know?
Nobody's ever commented since I've grown my arm hair out.
Yeah. So if you have like body hair,
it's
just
normal.
Fucking own it.
And listen, if you want to shave,
you can.
If you like the way it looks better, I love the way my legs look when I'm wearing a mini skirt and they're freshly shaved.
For sure.
But to be honest, I actually don't really give a shit about my armpits. And I don't let them grow out far. But if I like forgot for a week and I'm wearing a tank top, I'm not like pressed about it. I'm not like anxious about it. I think it's less, it's like you can want to shave, you can want to not shave. It's more about like don't let it consume you.
Also, like think about the reason you're doing it. I think that's the important part.
Exactly.
You can do it, but think about the reason.
Right. A huge thing that I will say, I feel like I've grown out of this. I'm more now in my like, you know, just trying to love myself for who I am. But for so long, my insecurity stemmed from like wanting to impress men.
Oh, that has been a thing for me for so long.
Have you ever had one of those situations where you're at a guy's house and you weren't sure you were going to hook up, or maybe you were like telling yourself you weren't, so you purposely didn't shave?
Yes.
But then it's going to happen anyway. And you find yourself like goblin sitting over his fucking toilet using his like 3-month-old razor with rust stains on it. Cause like God forbid, like you have like a hairy vagina,
that
even though you're a grown ass
so
woman.
True.
I've done that before. I have hovered over a man's toilet and used the razor I found in his shower because God forbid I had hair on my vagina as a grown woman.
Dude, that is such a female experience thing.
It is absolutely. It's another canon event.
And you know what's crazy about that is if I turned the tables and I looked at the man, I'd be like, you have to fix this. Like,
oh yeah.
Like if I actually were, you know, who I am today, maybe I wouldn't have even liked the man in the first place. I was so busy like
definitely
focusing,
not enough to give yourself razor bumps.
Yeah, focusing on like it stings and itches and stuff. Like I would be less focused on like what I'm being perceived as opposed to like, do I even want to fuck this person? Do I want to hook up with this person?
Oh, I would have hooked up with a lot less people if I asked myself if I actually wanted to first.
Yeah, we need to change that. We need to change going into a date or going into a thing with somebody and like being so focused on like what we're bringing to the table and be like, what are you fucking bringing?
You literally forget to ask.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've gone on dates before and I leave the date and I don't remember what they looked like. I can't remember.
Are you fucking kidding?
Like,
wait.
I've gone on first dates before and I was like really young and I was like so consumed by how I looked and how I was being perceived and what I was saying and sounding smart.
Oh, yes.
That I get home and if I close my eyes, I couldn't picture their face in my head.
Wait, that is so true.
Because I was so all consumed with my own shit.
That is so true.
It takes me like 3 dates to be able to remember someone's face.
One time I went on a date with somebody and they like winked too much. Do you remember this guy?
Oh, I remember.
And I was so hyper fixated on like what I was being viewed as that I like let the winks go. And I shouldn't have.
Saw that person for like months.
Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I let it go? I wasn't the problem. We're not the problem.
He winked too much. Like I remember the other day, we were on the phone or we were on FaceTime about something and we were talking. I don't know. We were shitting on ourselves for the way we looked. We were like, talking about things we didn't like about each other. Like, I actually think we could use some cheek filler. And you stopped the conversation and you were like, do you think that Ryan and Kellen ever think about this? And I was like, no, because men don't think about their flaws the way we do. And that's not to say that men can't be insecure or they don't think about little flaws, but men only think about big flaws. Like men think about when they're balding.
Yeah.
Or if they have like really bad teeth or something. Mm-hmm. But do you think a man has ever been like,
if my nasolabial folds were,
if I had a little filler for my nasolabial folds, because like they haven't been told to focus on those flaws.
But we have, so I don't even think it's honestly our fault. I know you don't either, but like think about consuming a piece of media. A woman is always the target of anything. Absolutely anything.
Have you ever seen an acne ad with a man?
No.
I haven't.
No.
I've never. Maybe a Proactive commercial in the early 2000s
when they show under eye circles in a thing, who's being shown?
Exactly. In fact, I love under eye circles on a man.
Yeah, me too.
But I hate them on myself.
Wow, under eye circles on a man is hot.
It is so hot. But again, like, these flaws in men are glamorized, and on women, it's like there's filler for that.
Wow, we just were a perfect example of that because I put so much under eye concealer on today.
Oh, I color correct.
Yeah.
And then I do concealer.
Yeah.
And then I do brightener. And then I do powder.
And I'm like, wow, a man's under eyes are so hot.
Oh my God, he's giving indie chic. It's like, it's ridiculous. Yeah, so I think that that's something too, is understanding that there is a literal $1 billion profit machine banking on your insecurities. Sephora's just waiting like the gates of hell for you to fucking hate your eyebrows so much that you shave them off so that you can go in and spend $26 on the Urban Decay fucking eyebrow fluff.
That is so true.
The biggest profit center in the world is on beauty. It's the commodification of beauty. They are banking on us fucking hating ourselves. The world would crumble if women stopped hating themselves because the stock market would plummet. Yeah. We'd immediately be in the next depression.
In a
if
way,
we stopped buying beauty products.
Women rule the world then.
No, we're being fucked.
No, but I'm saying, like, obviously we're like fucked for thinking this stuff, but if we all did band together,
yeah, then we'd be so powerful.
Yeah, but that's not gonna happen, is
I
it?
have a 20% off coupon to Sephora in my purse as we speak.
Actually just went yesterday, so
we're working on it.
We're coming up with the ideas. We'll put it into practice.
We're not claiming to be perfect.
No,
we're just pointing out the problems.
Yes,
somebody smarter.
Someone had to say
it out.
You guys figure it out. Someone has to say it.
I think that's a great place to end the episode.
I agree.
I think in general our episodes are probably going to be a little on the shorter side, but we had a lot to say today.
This was an important conversation. I feel like with important conversations, if this goes a little farther, so be it.
Buckle in, bitches.
Buckle in.
Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave it a like. Please leave it a good rating. It really helps out the show. If you like to watch versus listen, the episode is also on YouTube.
Leave us a little cheeky comment. Tell us what you think.
If you're on YouTube, leave a comment, but a nice one. Because I'm cripplingly insecure if you haven't learned that from this episode.
And I'll literally block the fuck out of you.
I thought you were going to say you're going to kill yourself.
And I'll literally kill myself and then block the fuck out of you.
I will, not exaggerating, print out your comment. I will get it screen printed on a t-shirt on the back. On the back. The front will say, "This person made me do this." And then I'll kill myself in the shirt.
Yes. You know what? Yes. I back that. Oh, I don't back that, but I do it with you. I do it with you.
Okay.
Anyways.
Love you guys. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Bye.
Bye.